Baker Mayfield said goodbye to Cleveland in a long note screenshot. Everybody's saying it's not an official goodbye, but it sure felt like Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns are kind of done. Obviously, the Browns met with Deshaun Watson just yesterday. An inside source alleges that it was a good meeting between the Browns and Deshaun Watson. That team obviously stacked, packed to the gills. They got some money. They are releasing Austin Hooper to free up some more cap space. Is that for Deshaun Watson? Is that for another move that they have to make on the D-line like Chandler Jones? Baker Mayfield seems to be moving on. Baker Reagan Mayfield seems to be moving on. And Pro Football Network's Tony Pauline is reporting that Baker wants to go to the Colts. Wow. How do you feel about this, AJ, and what are your thoughts on it all?
Well, the only way Baker leaves Cleveland, right, is if they ship him out because they're bringing Deshaun Watson in, correct?
Bingo.
So, I mean, there's no guarantee they get Deshaun Watson. We know that. There's multiple teams going for him. So is this, for Baker, is the damage already done with the organization? He sounds pretty hurt or sad by whatever's going on. That's why he puts this out when I'm sure the team doesn't enjoy the fact that he put this out.
Let's read this message here. Let's read this message from Baker Reagan Mayfield, BRM. Burn.
What do you think that is? Why do you put your full name?
Just to let people know, hey, I'm a fucking professional. Yeah. Cleveland, he says in bold. Title of the note is Cleveland, comma. The past 4 years have been nothing short of truly life-changing since I heard my name called on draft day to go to Cleveland. This is not a message with hidden meaning, all right? This is strictly to thank the city of Cleveland for embracing my family and me. We have made many memories and shared growing in this process through all the ups and downs. I have no clue what happens next, which is the meaning behind the silence I have had during the duration of this process. I can only control what I can, which is trusting in God's plan. God's plan.
God's plan.
God's plan. God's plan. Throughout this process, I have given this franchise everything I have. That is something I've always done at every stage and at every level. And that will not change wherever I take my next snap. Whatever happens, I just want to say thank you to the fans who truly embrace who I am and the mentality that aligns so well with this city's hardworking people. Cleveland will always be a part of Emily and my story. And we will always be thankful for the impact it has had and will have in our lives. Sincerely, Baker Reagan Mayfield.
Wow.
Sounds like Baker knows something that the public doesn't. Like maybe the Browns are definitely moving on, whether they get Deshaun Watson or not. This is certainly an interesting note section that you would put out if you were to go back to said team, but anything can get handled with good football. So maybe Baker Reagan Mayfield goes back to Cleveland because it feels like Deshaun's going to Atlanta today, and Atlanta is reached out to him with an entire pitch deck. He's reached out to Atlanta. It's his home. And the Colts feel like they're just sitting in limbo. Wherever Deshaun goes, we're picking up the contract or the quarterback from that place. That's what's being reported. Who knows what's real and what isn't, though, AJ?
So, I mean, there has to be a good chance that Baker Mayfield is back in Cleveland, right? Because even if they don't get Deshaun, how are they still – they already picked up Baker's option. How would they move on for him? Who comes in? What do you do? Make a trade for Matt Ryan straight up?
Or Mariota's still out there. Jameis Winston's still out there.
But you already picked up his fifth-year option, though.
Yeah, but so some other team can, too.
I would assume if you get Deshaun, they would say, okay, cool, we'd love to have Deshaun. But if not, we'll stay with Baker. That's what I would think they would be doing.
Yeah, but if they trade away his fifth-year option and get Mariota at like $4 million, $5 million a year, and they think he's an upgrade. By the way, I'm not saying this. I'm just saying you got to think for Andrew Berry. Why would Baker put that message out if he didn't hear that he was probably going to be on the move next season? Yeah. It feels like that is – right? Am I misreading that?
Yeah. No, you're not misreading. It definitely sounds like he feels like I won't be at Cleveland anymore. But do you think Cleveland feels that way? Cleveland may have told him, hey, I want to be upfront with you. I want to be honest. We're going to explore bringing Deshaun Watson in here. I don't want you to be offended, whatever. We're going to do what's best for the team. And then left it at that. And then Baker takes it as I'm gone.
Some report came out and said that they have been transparent with Baker, that they're going to look at all top-tier quarterbacks that are potentially available. Maybe more has come from that, and I forget who reported that. So let's assume they were maybe looking in on Russell Wilson then too, right? Yeah. Which Baker probably heard. They're in on Deshaun, obviously, publicly, we've heard that. So if you're Baker, you're like, I don't want to fucking go back to this team. Is it Baker maybe saying, like, hey, I appreciate what you guys have done, but at this point, why would I want to go back to this team? And maybe that's the difference between professional football and college and high school football. I'm not 100% sure.
That's kind of how friend of the program, Dahn Orlovsky, was spinning it this morning. Like, no matter if they don't get Deshaun or whatever, that there's no way that Baker can go back to that team and not feel like disrespected and stuff like that? And can he play under that circumstance?
Guy played with broken humerus and torn thing.
Come on.
Guy was in a sling all year. They had him throwing 60 times trying to make him look bad.
Setting him up for failure.
For the shoot.
So wait, no. Is Dane Orlovsky saying not because of the letter Baker put out, but because it's been public that Cleveland's trying to court Deshaun Watson to town, that there's no way Baker can come back and be the guy now just because of that?
Listen, Dan says a lot of stuff.
Seemed like that.
Okay, but that he might be talking from where he thinks Baker's at right now.
Hey, Baker absolutely has. He 100% should feel that way a little bit. It should sting. It should hurt a little bit that they may be going after Deshaun Watson. But if you take a step back and say, all right, what's the best for me? I gotta be ready when it's my time to go, wherever that may be, and not just instantly turn off Cleveland. Because what if Cleveland wants to move on from him and you send you somewhere to be a backup? Like, you want to do that?
So the interesting thing here is, and this is a much different level, but the Colts, when a new regime came in, they told me they were going to bring in 4 guys that knew how to directional punt, and you need to figure it out or we're going to cut you. This is a contract year for me, by the way. You need to figure it out and go elsewhere. And I immediately thought, fuck these dudes, okay? But also for my job, okay, I better figure out how to fucking do directional punting, and when these dudes show up, I need to dunk on these dudes. That happened throughout your entire career at a lot of positions. I assume this happened to you as well. The fact that it's the quarterback position, it's a little bit different, I guess, especially because the conversation about Baker's future contract stipulations have been in conversation, and last year was obviously drama-filled. Maybe Baker just wants a fresh start, but also with what you're saying, it's like, hey, this is what the NFL is. This is how it's always going to be. You can still prove that you're going to be the guy for Cleveland long-term by coming out and balling next year. That's what you're saying?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's not easy. It can't be easy for Baker sitting there knowing what he played through and the pain that he played through and what he's done, that the team is out there searching for this other guy, searching for Deshaun Watson. But once you get over that, once you let that anger settle down a little bit, it's like use it as your motivation. Like, all right, I don't care. If these guys don't believe me, cool. I'm going to kill everybody out here. They're all going to see who I am, and everyone's going to forget that they even went after Deshaun Watson.
Bingo. And then you could actually hit some of these every single time to your own team. That happens a lot.
Fun. Yeah, believe me. A lot of the best things that happen are because you are really mad at your coaches or different people in the organization, and it feels very good to do things when that's the case. 1,000,000%,
by the way. That and Baker seems to have that mentality, that chip on his shoulder.
He's tough as nails. He took one of the hardest shots I've ever seen in college when he tried to run away, and that cop just blasted him. Almost handed the concrete. That honestly is one of the most impressive things I have ever seen.
And also the cop, great angle.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Former Sooner, probably.
Great coverage.
He's lucky Baker's head didn't hit that ledge and he would be dead. Like Baker, he can absorb a hit, man.
Yeah, we saw a guy Taco Bell this morning get picked up and dumped on his head, and he was out immediately upon the head hitting the ground. So at that state of mind, I think it only takes a little bit, too, for you to potentially be night-night. Baker's able to survive that hit and a lot more. You know, he's a tough son of a bitch, that guy.